Welcome everyone to Neverwinter on PC. My name is Rainer and today I'm going to walk you through the new MOD16 Ranger class. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you would like to see more information and videos about Neverwinter, hit the subscribe button. Just to start this video off, this is not a build video. Everything is still moving around, so it's hard to figure out what's right or wrong. Also, the new gear is not available yet, so it's difficult to really figure out what you need. This is mainly a video to show everyone that 1. Soloing content is still possible, and just to inform you guys about the new powers and just give you a short introduction to this new class, because it's nothing like the old class. Talking about combat, damage values have been decreased, as you probably know by now, but so has enemy hit points. So let's take a look at this new Ranger class, at least as it is now. I already talked about this in the last video, but yeah, attributes, not the attributes, the rating points. What you will notice typically when you have a new character on MOD16 is that you will be lacking a lot in the accuracy stat. What does it mean? Well, enemies will have deflect stats, and if your accuracy is not high enough, your attacks will do, well, a lot less damage. So this is something that is very critical and something that people will need to build towards, and the new gear will probably help there quite a bit. The next thing, attributes. Well, I already touched upon this in the previous video as well, but attributes as it stands right now are the same for all of the classes, which is weird because for Hunter Ranger in the past we always wanted to build as much dex as possible because that's where the damage boost is. And this is not true anymore. Well, dex still has critical severity, which is pretty good, and movement speed. So as you can see, I still put points in here, but strength is where the physical damage boost is at. Int is actually also a damage boost, but that's for magical damage. So there are multiple types of damage now. Yeah, that's basically the ability scores. So let's go to the powers, and this is a big one, of course. We still have the same two Paragon paths. We have Paragon paths, Warden and Hunter. I think they were called the same, right? No, they were called Storm Warden and I forgot. Storm Warden and I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me in the comments. Anyway, now the names here are also shortened. And yeah, it depends a lot which Paragon path you choose, which powers you get. What does it mean? Well, we still have, as a Ranger, 2 DPS paths. Warden and Hunter are both DPS paths. And what I can make of this whole set that we're getting is that the Warden is more aimed towards the combat / trapper method of fighting, and the Hunter is more towards the archery part of fighting. So that's in a very, very big line what you're looking at. Of course, it's much more detailed than this. Let's go over the powers. As a Warden, you get Electric Shot. So as a Hunter, you don't get that anymore. Make that clear. Electric Shot purely for Warden. So this is for clearing large groups of enemy. Clear the ground. Yeah, this is a power that I used a lot on my combat spec. Yeah, and here you see aim shot, aim strike for the Hunter. This is more for archery. You want to do a lot of damage from a distance, careful attack. Yeah, so that's what I mean. Also, why is this more combat / trapper, Bladestorm, twin Bladestorm? These are actually they do actually what they did before, mostly. You also have Storm Step Action, which is a way to reduce encounter cooldowns, aspect of the Lone Wolf. I don't think many people will use this. So yeah, we still have Split the Sky and Throw Caution here. Throw Caution is a very nice buffing tool to do some more damage. Self-buffing, of course. Then we have Boar Hide, Boar Charge. Not really used a lot. I don't think this is very good to get. Fox's Cunning and Fox Shift. Also not that interesting, I think. Binding Arrow and Oak Skin. Also not that fantastic in my eyes. Although this is the Grasping Roots. And this heals you for 9% of max hit points over the duration and increases incoming healer by 10%. So basically this makes you a lot more tanky in case you're having trouble staying alive. Then the Thorn Ward. Yeah, this is a self-buff thing again, which it was also in mod 15 if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, this is some minor damage. We also have new level 80 powers. Cold Storm here. Cold Steel Hurricane is, I think, mostly the same. Cold Steel Hurricane. Your attacks deal additional lightning damage. So yeah, it's just something that you get buffed with some kind of lightning enchantment, and your powers will do more damage in an area. While you have that buff for 10 seconds it is. 10 seconds. Then we have Blade Hurricane. You might remember that from the old stuff. So we still have that feat. Death Strikes, also an old feat, I think. They are changed, by the way. So here Blade Hurricane still gives Flurry, but Flurry causes your melee at wills to deal double damage now, and instead of dealing 2 additional attacks with a lot of extra damage. Then Death Strikes. Death Strikes is a cooldown reduction feat. Storm's Recovery, another cooldown reduction feat. And I think this is really weird because this one seems to be a lot stronger than Death Strikes. But maybe, yeah. It's really weird. Then To the Wind, that which buffs Throw Caution. If you're using that, this is additional 10% damage boost, which is quite a bit. Focused rewards you for not using both of your stances. So if you're standing in one stance, you will get after 10 seconds 25% extra damage, but you're missing out on all of your other stance encounter power. So this is maybe if you want to go full combat and never go into range stance. I'm not sure this is good, but it might be in some builds. Maybe this also gets tweaked some more. It is a really interesting one because it changes the way that you play. So I really like this kind of feat that really adapts how you have to play the game. Next one is Storm Conduit. The final hit of electric shot marks the primary target with Storm Conduit for 5 seconds. Yeah, so this is if you hit an enemy a couple of times, they start giving lightning strikes to nearby enemies. Skirmisher's Gambit, we still have this one. It doesn't raise crit severity by 50% anymore, but 30%, and your crit strike is reduced by 3,000 instead of, was it 5% in the past or 10%? I think it was 10%, right? 3,000, which is about 6% in the new system. Then we have Swiftness of the Fox. Swiftness of the Fox is also a cooldown reduction feat, which we also had in the past, but now it reduces the cooldowns from your other stance by 1 second, and some powers also additionally reduce cooldowns. Enhanced Conductivity, Cold Storm, so this one here now enhances your weapon with an additional 50 magnitude damage boost, so all of your powers will do more damage for as long as Cold Storm is active, which is a 10-second duration. So This feat is very dependent on whether or not you use this daily and how often you can use it, because AP gain is nerfed quite a bit. Last in the Warden feat or Paragon path is Nature's Envoy. When you activate Forest Ghost, you are granted Flurry and its duration and is constantly refreshed. Forest Ghosts, I'm not sure, I also think it's 10 seconds. I don't think this one is that good, but that's my opinion at the moment. Then we have the Hunter. As I said, Hunter I think is more for archery. If you really want to focus on archery, we have Aspect of the Falcon here. Range powers deal 10% more damage if you're within 25 feet of your target, which is a little bit weird because it was actually being far away from your target. Then Pathfinder's Action, increasing run speed and deflection, Cruel Recovery, which still heals you. I think that was also the same before. Primal Instinct is a buff to your buffing powers. And as I said before already, we have Aimed Shot and Aimed Strike here. Slow hitting but hard hitting at will powers. And Hunter's Teamwork, which actually gives some hit points, stamina and action points to everyone in your team. So this is quite a nice one, probably, to buff your party. So you can mark an enemy with this and then kill it. Then for the encounter powers we have Ambush. Causes your next attack to deal bonus damage for 5 seconds, 10% more damage. Does a massive bear trap at a target's location. So this is you set a trap and the enemies in there will get a dot for 5 seconds with a magnitude of 175, a root for 2 seconds and a slow for 5 seconds after the root, I guess. Then we still have Long Strider Shot, but Long Strider Shot does not buff anything anymore. So this is a really big change, but it does do quite a bit of damage. Gushing Wounds, you slice open your enemy. A nice description, very short. 350 magnitude and 350 dot for 10 seconds, which is quite nice. Then we have Hawk Shot, fire an arrow towards your target that deals damage to all enemies in a line. So this is dependent on how many enemies you can see in a line and how many you can hit at once. Hawkeye, you grant precision to you and your allies, increase damage of encounter powers by 5%. So it does say you and your allies, but I'm not sure if it really is a buff for allies as well. I don't think so, because buffs for party are mostly out of the game. Then we have Rapid Volley, has 5 charges, just some basic damage, quite low magnitude for an encounter power, and Wind Walk Strike. These two are actually new. Dash Forward Strike and 175. Also not that high of a magnitude for an encounter power. Long Striders to compare has 700. Let's choose Warden. And then you can see additional powers that everyone has. So I think Hindering Shot is common between the two Paragon paths. It's mostly the same. It applies weak grasping roots. We have Marauder's Escape, which well, at first they were it was pretty strong. It's a dash back, and of course the melee version is a dash forward again. Constricting Arrow, which is common, which is pretty much the same as it was. Rain of Arrows, also pretty much the same as it was. Cordon of Arrows, I think the last 5 are specific, so this is also and I think this one also has plant growth in the melee form. Yeah, Exactly. Then for the dailies we have Seismic Shot, which is mostly the same, high magnitude. We have Forest Ghost, which is daily to height. Also does a little bit of damage, and it can buff your, it can give you flurry if you use a certain feat. Then we have Snipe, which has a very high magnitude. These, by the way, this one costs 60. That's a little bit odd. If it says for daily that it costs 1000, that means it costs 100% of your action points. 60 should be 6%, but I doubt that it does 6%, to be honest. So Snipe is a very powerful single target hit. Goldstein Hurricane is a slow. I think in the past it also regained or refreshed your stamina. And we have Call of the Storm, which is really nice nowadays. Let's put that also in here. Grasping Roots, Shift, and Range Stance, those things are still the same. We have class features, Seeker's Vengeance, this is unchanged. Crushing Roots, I think this is also unchanged. Aspect of the Pack, this is not a percentage anymore. I think this was a percentage before, but it does basically the same thing. Aspect of the Serpent is also quite the same as it was before. So if you are a trapper, you really want to get this one. Storm Step Action is if you use a daily power, you reduce your encounter cooldowns based on the amount of action points spent. Not that great because you're not gonna get a lot of dailies out there. Bladestorm, I think this is the same as it was. Then we have Twin Bladestorm. Anytime you hit more than 2 enemies, deal an additional 8% damage, which is pretty nice, 8% damage boost. And we have Aspect of the Lone Wolf, gain 5 on deflect for each enemy within 30 feet of you, which is also pretty much the same. Then the feats, we already went over them actually, so I'm not gonna do that again. So all of your feats are dependent on which Paragon path you pick. There are no common ones there. The general stuff, this is race stuff, nature, lucky skirmisher, weapon master, mastery, critical chance by 5%, and stance mastery. I'm not sure if they unlock at a certain level. I am level 80 at the moment, so it might be that they unlock at that level. We also have a new at will, penetrating arrows, line up a shot and then fire a penetrating arrow, dealing damage to all enemies in a line. So a little bit like a different shot that we had here, I think somewhere. Well, seismic shot does the same. Maybe it wasn't the archery in the hunter path, I think. But yeah, so that's the powers. As for companions, well, that's actually a whole other video. Once they fix all the companions, it's hard to pinpoint what you need right now, because there are some that are really broken. For mounts, well, as I already mentioned, the Insignia bonuses have changed. Some things say you gain 200% of your armor penetration, stuff like that. I don't know if it really does. If it does, that's of course broken. But yeah, some things are really nerfed quite a bit. Whenever you activate a mount combat power, you gain 1000 to all your ratings for 10 seconds. I think this was a 10% boost to power and something else, Cavalry's Warning. It was a lot better than what it is now. Competence Maneuver, when you control an enemy you gain 2500% combat advantage. Might get fixed at some point. Yeah, Assassin's Covenant is... yeah. You lose 1000 of defense, deflection, critical avoidance and awareness, and you gain 1000. So it's basically swapping 4000 stars for something else. This mount power is gonna be dead as well. Gladius Guile is quite broken. If you have multiple slotted, you will be a little bit faster than intended, but it's still quite okay if you use one. As for the insignias, as I already mentioned, they go up to legendary now. I cannot do that here, so where is it? I think here. You need the same insignia as you want the epic one. So you need the same epic one, you need 2 of them, then you need 4 of the same type in rare shape and 8 of the same type in uncommon. And then if you have them all, it's 100% chance to upgrade it. One thing to note about the insignias, as I already mentioned, accuracy is going to be an issue because you will not have a lot of it, and only the insignia of mastery will have accuracy on it. So maybe there are new insignias on the way. I hope so. As of now, mastery insignias might become very popular. So the video has already gotten a little bit long, but just to show you guys that it's still possible to solo stuff, let me switch to my real build. I have a build. I am using Aspect of the Serpent, so it's more of a trapper. It's actually a combination of trapper and combat, but I like to think of it as a trapper build. I will go to Omu, so that's a relatively new area where enemies did hurt a little bit, and with a big nerf that would have been a problem, but I want to show you guys that it's still possible to solo in here. One thing to note before we start, we are lowered from level 80 to level 70, so we are being debuffed. Also, I am using the level 80 weapons, or the item level 700, so the new weapon sets. You can just buy them on the trade bar store if you have trade bars. There are 60 trade bars for the main hand and 60 for the offhand, so it's not that expensive, and it really helps. Oh, got grabbed there. Oops. So as you can see, I didn't have too much problems to survive. I still have my full HP. Of course, this is end game, so might be a little bit different for other. As you can see, stuff dies pretty fast, even with my relatively low accuracy. The damage values are not in the 100,000s anymore, but it's okay. Let me see if I can find the Tyrannosaurs to kill. Let me actually see if I can kill these monkeys, because I know that they did a lot of damage before. Yeah, that was pretty easy. And regen, as you can see, will top you off pretty quickly. So there's a normal Razor Tyrannus. Let's see how easy this one is to kill. Not using dailies yet. So here I use my daily. Let's see the electric arcs. My bow is actually... That's the lightning enchantment actually. But yeah, it's not super bad. You can still kill stuff pretty quickly, at least as a ranger. It might be a little bit slower, but that's fine. It's mostly dungeon content that's going to be a lot less quick because of all the buffs and debuffs missing. Anyway, that's the short introduction to the new Ranger class. If you have any remarks on this video or any suggestions on what to investigate next, feel free to leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.